Pushkin.
From BBC Studios and Pushkin Industries, this is Big Lives. I'm Kai Wright.
I'm Emmanuel Dzotsi.
And on this show, we take a single cultural icon, we break down their legacy with the help of the BBC's vast archive. And today, to do our breaking down, we have a special guest, B.A. Parker, one of the hosts of NPR's podcast Code Switch. B.A., hey.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So you are here because you have kind of sent in a DJ request.
Yes. So I know that you are responsible for going to the archives and talking about these great, great people. And like you have certainly run the gamut. And I was wondering if we could explore the legacy of Lauryn Hill.
One Lauryn Hill. And why? Why did you want Lauryn Hill? What is the...
I think she gets a lot of grief. She is my J.D. Salinger. Like, she made, like, one thing that has stood the test of time that was all really needed. And I feel like she got a lot of guff.
A lot of guff in the sense of just the way she's been characterized.
Yeah.
To you, what are some of the ways she's been characterized? What would you say?
Late.
I was going to say, that's the understatement. That's the thing. She's late as hell.
Just so if anyone doesn't know, who among us has not stood at a concert having bought a ticket to a Lauryn Hill show and waiting hours for her to actually show up?
To be fair, I knew what I was getting into. But someone who would speak truth to power and through her art and maybe misunderstood. Maybe her vulnerability not being accepted in good faith by her fans.
Yeah. She's been called crazy, amongst other things.
Don't love that word.
What about you, Emmanuel? What's your relationship to Lauryn Hill?
Honestly, my relationship to Lauryn Hill is just I just remember being a kid in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I just felt like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, her big classic album, was a soundtrack to my life. So many songs I feel soundtrack my childhood, and then I just remember it kind of ending.
Yeah.
And not hearing her songs as much and hearing them again as an adult, and then unfortunately, waiting for hours to see her at the Pitchfork Musical Festival in Chicago a couple of years ago. But
her disappearing, one other word that's used to describe her is recluse,
Yeah.
She's been described as somebody who just kind of became out there and weird and difficult and hidden from the public and all of these things. And so we want to get into some of that and why people thought of her that way and where it may have come from. But first off, if you are somehow visiting from Mars and don't know Lauryn Hill, please, as Emmanuel said, look in the dictionary under the 1990s. I just don't even know where to begin.
No, I mean, it shouldn't get lost in here that I don't use this word very lightly, but we're talking about someone who is considered a genius musically.
Absolutely.
Legitimately. Exactly.
Absolutely. So she's one of the pioneers of this music genre that blends soul and hip hop and reggae. She's rightly called the queen of neo-soul, just so influential in music, period, certainly Black music. Part of the band The Fugees, one of the most loved groups in the history of hip-hop. And then, as we said, went out on her own, made one of the greatest records of all time, literally is on many lists as one of the greatest records of all time, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Multiple Grammys, multiple firsts. We'll get into all of that. But above all else, she is here to kill you softly.
Killing me softly with his song. Killing me softly with his song. Telling my whole life with his words. Killing me softly.
Parker literally put her hands to her heart when that song hit. This is just, it's just one of the great songs in the history of music. But despite all of that, as I have been looking through the BBC archive on your behalf, Parker, I have found not a lot, to be honest, because, again, she did kind of become a recluse. She just does not do media interviews.
Good for her.
Good for her is your opening bid. Okay. But I did find two key interviews that will be our text for today.
Okay.
And one of them is from her time with the Fugees. And then the other one is right around the release of Miseducation. So in both of these, she's at her prime. She's happy and excited about her future in music and just really sounds confident in her place in the industry, oddly.
I can just do my part and, stay on the right path and don't step on anybody's toes and, try and be a strong, righteous woman, you know what I mean?
So we're going to listen to both of these conversations. In them, you hear that sort of optimism of the moment, but you do also start to hear her thinking about some of these questions about what it really means to be a Black woman trying to make her art in her own way in this culture and how complicated that can be and how, for her, how curdling that became. So we'll get into all of that. We'll get into the tape after the break. Welcome back. This is Big Lives. Today we are talking about the Lauryn Hill. Parker, when did you first encounter Lauryn Hill?
I mean, elementary school. It was when Killing Me Softly came out.
Yeah.
So I was a wee babe. And so I knew one time and Ready or Not, that era of the Fugees.
Uh-huh.
And so when the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out, it just felt like a cool extension. That was my understanding of her. She felt like this cool big sister.
Big sister.
Yeah. I mean, now that I'm an adult, I realize just how young she was
Right.
when all this happened. But she just seemed very singular. I'd never seen anyone like her before. And I think my grandmother would watch her on As the World Turns, which was a soap opera back in the day.
Yeah.
And so she was one of two Black people on a soap opera called As the World Turns.
As a teenager at 15.
As a teenager. So my context was the soap opera and Ready or Not.
Yeah. You use the phrase big sister, and that is useful for us all to hold because I think there's a lot of people who felt that way about her, a lot of Black women who felt that way about her, Black girls, I guess, who felt that way about her. And that's going to be part of the story we're here to tell. So like I said, we're going to pull from two key interviews as we talk about this, both in the 90s. And the first one is with a British music journalist called Andy Kershaw. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it because I don't have a British accent, but he's a big deal. And we don't know exactly when this interview comes from because the tape is not properly labeled. That's a thing we've run into with the archive a couple times. But I'm pretty sure it's the summer of 1996. So It is the same year that the Fugees dropped that huge hit album, The Score, that had Killing Me Softly, that had Ready or Not on it. Mm-hmm. And, it's fun because this guy, Kershaw, he is just having a blast. So it starts with him reading off this concert bill that listen to this lineup, you guys.
Tonight's schedule pinned up on the wall. Sunday, August the 18th, 4 o'clock doors open. 6 o'clock, Collared a Wild. 6:08, Spearhead for 25 minutes. Then Busta Rhymes. 7 o'clock, A Tribe Called Quest. 7:46, The Fugees, including Nas. Then it's Cypress Hill. And topped off at 9:51 by Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers. It reads with the omission of Diggable Planets and one or two others like Kershaw's Guide to Quality Rap. And it's arrived in the most unlikely hood, as we rap insiders call these things, the cradle of white American music, Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, so let's just acknowledge what you're laughing at here, right?
Hood.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure I still found that funny. But just to say, though, that lineup is wild.
Wild. Can you imagine? I mean, Jesus, listen to that.
That's so many cool people. This Busta Rhymes, A Tribe Called Quest.
Mm-hmm.
It's let's go back to 1996.
It's right. So if you want to relive the 90s, this is a perfect playlist for you to do that with. All of these groups. And they're also they're mixing soul and jazz and hip hop, even some punk with Cypress Hills. Mm-hmm. Feels like in that era, they're reaching back through all of Black music, bringing it all together to make this new sound. And Lauryn Hill is credibly considered the beating heart of it all at that moment. And she is a lousy 21 years old at the time.
Wow.
So just to back up and let me give you the basic bio stuff. Lauryn Hill, born May 26, 1975 in East Orange, New Jersey, grows up mostly in South Orange, which is just a stone's throw away. She's in a Baptist family where music is just everywhere. It's a constant presence. Her mother, Valerie, is an English teacher, but who also plays the piano. Her father is a consultant who sang in nightclubs and at weddings. So it's just like music, music, music. By age 13, she's on stage at the Apollo. I have this in common with her. We have both played the stage of the Apollo.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Brag about it.
Yeah, look, okay, I made a podcast on the stage of the Apollo a couple of times, which
Still
is
counts.
a
Still
little
counts.
different. But still. And so she does the Apollo at 13. She does the Motown classic, Who's Lovin' You, written by Smokey Robinson, but made big by Jackson 5, of course. So it makes sense for her to do it as a 13-year-old. I had to look up clips of it right on YouTube, and I was like, is this AI? This can't be real, but I like, it is her. Of course, she gets booed, as you do, with, Showtime at the Apollo.
Let's boo a child.
That's boo a child. That was the tradition. Because it's a hazing. It's a hazing.
All right. Okay.
But she stays in it. They're booing and she stays in it. And she wins them back over a little bit by the end. Her mom told Rolling Stone in a profile later that she cried about it after the show. Right, because she's 13. But it's funny because her mom, Valerie, says she's told Lauryn, she's like, well, maybe this isn't for you if you're going to cry. So she tells her mom, no, you're nuts. This is for me. This is my calling, even if I'm going to be booed off the stage.
Oh, good for her.
Anyway, she grows up surrounded by a massive record collection and all this music, and it's full of 70s soul. Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Curtis Mayfield, and of course, Roberta Flack.
I see there.
And so, she tells Kirscher that these are the sounds that shaped her music.
Was Killing Me Softly your idea?
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah,
tell
it
us how
was.
that came about?
But I mean, it wasn't any major revelation. No light bulb went on. It just, my mom was a Roberta fan. The music was always in my house. And one day, me and Praz were in the car, and the song came on the radio, and we just looked at each other, and we were like, psh. I said, I mentioned it to him earlier, that song, was it.
So first off, can we just talk about the basic idea of the two versions of these songs, Roberta Flack and Lauryn Hill, and what she does with it on the Fugees album? And I don't know, for me, it's like these voices of two Black women connecting across generations. Totally different sounds, but totally same vibe and emotion. That is my take.
I mean, there's such like a beautiful soulfulness to how Lauryn is singing it as well, but it's wrapped up in like the Wyclef beat and the one time, two, but it is like this, the soulfulness that she is like reaching out through the song. Like she sang it recently at the Grammys in honor of Roberta Flack. And everyone was so excited that Lauryn Hill even blessed this event, but that she was able to still have that yearning in her voice while singing it and like this mournfulness to it that from 21 to now in her 50s still have that ability to engage and compel the audience that way.
Totally. It's like she's so young, and this conversation has been helpful because I forget how young she was, but she has a similar quality to like the Jackson 5 and that song. There's a quality I feel like to some of these old records, which is just everyone who's singing them is young, and yet you listen to them, you're like, oh, you've lived a life.
Yeah.
You believe it. You know what I mean? You believe what they're singing.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson at whatever, you believed,
10
that
years
this
old
child
being
had-
like, who's loving you?
Yeah. And it's poignant, which is why it works.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, so R.I.P. Roberta Flack, she recently passed, who was just a really titanic voice in Black music in the 70s. And I feel like there is some analogy there too, in the sense of the way Lauryn Hill is this young woman who is standing out in the 90s in Black music that is mostly thought of at the time and now as about all these young men, but she's actually at the center holding it together. And Roberta Flack is similar in the 70s with 70s soul, you know? She's keeping it going. And there's just some beautiful synergy that this song unites these two remarkable artists. But so in that clip, you heard she mentions Pross. That's Pross Michel. He and Lauryn formed a band together when she was in high school. Later, they added Wyclef Jean, and they become the Fugees, which is one of the great and tragic band stories in music history. And in that tape, again, with Andy Kershaw in 1996, there's this lovely moment where he's hanging out backstage with Wyclef, just playing the guitar. It's apropos of nothing, but it's so pretty. Like, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, please.
We ready?
Sure. A new idea you're working on?
Actually, I'm just vibing, man. It's called the vibes.
Backstage,
Whatever comes to your head, you just do it.
Backstage and killing time before the show in Nashville. And Wyclif's noodling around on his acoustic guitar.
This is what's happening backstage at that Nashville concert. Like, while we're waiting for Tribe Called Quest and Busta Rhymes and all of that to happen, this was going on backstage.
Vibes hadn't hit the UK yet.
Not like that. But listen, if even now listening to that, I was just like, you know, when you hear somebody talk and you're stuck on every word they say?
Yeah.
I was stuck on every single motif or direction that piece of music just went, even though he's just noodling.
Yeah. Oh, I can see why I would be enraptured at 20 years old listening to Wyclef.
Listening to Wyclef.
Play the guitar and try to like spit rhymes in the green room. Yeah.
So at this moment, this is, like I said, the Fugees, Pross, Wyclef, Lauryn Hill. They have just dropped their second album called The Score. First album wasn't a thing commercially, but The Score dropped in February of that year, and it broke the world. It broke people's minds, sold 22 million copies worldwide, won the Grammy for Best Rap Album, which made Lauryn Hill the first woman to win that award. Killing Me Softly was just one of the incredible examples that she brought to the music. There's also Ready or Not, where she's so beautiful on. There's Fuji La, you know, Fuji La La La. It's just where I think without her, the song is a nothing. And in this interview with Kershaw, it's all just a few months after this fact. And it's interesting that with all we know about Lauryn Hill and her relationship to media and fame now, right, how she turned on it and it turned on her, whichever you come from, but like she don't hang with people like Kershaw anymore. To hear her just relaxed optimism and openness as she talks to him and as she just talks about the art itself.
I think one of our goals is just basically to, you know, reunite the youths, you know, reunite the youths with, you know, musicality and the depth, like the old school, you know, back in the days. Just basically, you know, I think that musically, hip-hop is sort of like, we're like the descendants of disco. So we lost a little bit of our musicality because everybody started to synthesize and use this and that computer. I think we're just trying to bring that vibe and that soul, you know, back.
By using like live
the
musicians on stage.
The musicality, you know, the musicality back to black music, the lyricism, the depth, the soul, the feeling, you know. It's not about, you know, sex and money and drugs. It's about, you know, it's about more than that. It's about feeling. It's about, we're very spiritual people. If we're in touch with it or not, it's still there. I think we're just trying to, you know, move more young people towards that.
We're the descendants of disco, she says.
And she's right.
I love the phrase descendants of disco. You know?
Put that on a t-shirt.
But it's true to think about their music, right? That was, again, part of that moment in the 90s. It was about the return of instrumentation to hip hop. I guess the return of instrumentation, the introduction of instrumentation to hip hop,
Right.
where, somebody like young Emmanuel with his saxophone might have been able to hop on a track.
There you go. Kenny G
Listen.
it up.
Listen, we joke, but honestly, I feel like a lot of these songs are my introduction to those instruments, right?
Yeah.
And when I started playing saxophone, when I started playing violin as a kid, for example, hearing the way they use strings, hearing the way they use brass, all of that, I was hearing it through the lens of stuff like this.
Well, also when we talk descendants of disco, like the Fugees and her music, because it's sampled by some of that earlier music. Like, Fuji La comes from Tina Marie, or
Right.
Roberta Flack, or the Jackson 5, the 70s music that is being repackaged a little bit for a newer generation. You can see the threads. She's repackaging the music for a newer generation in a way that's so respectful to and so clearly understands where that music comes from in a way that's so refreshing to hear from someone so young.
She's building on it.
Yeah, it's just refreshing to hear.
Well, to that point, I love this little wisdom she drops next.
I really love black culture, in all of its assets and all of its dimensions. People have tried to label me as a racist because of that. That I'm not,
Sorry, in what sense? I don't understand.
Well, no. I love everyone universally, but I happen to love my culture. I just think black culture is just the fucking bomb. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying?
So do I, and I'm white.
Yeah, but here's the deal, though. But when someone who's black and articulate and strong and making powerful music says it, it becomes an issue. You understand what I mean? It definitely becomes an issue.
It becomes an issue when we are unapologetic about it, is what I hear her saying.
I think it's the fact that she is understanding that, of just like being so vocal and getting pushback from it. I can totally understand how trying to navigate that, especially as your light is getting bigger and bigger, can be an interesting push and pull.
Yeah. But the push and pull, right? And we've talked about this some on the show before, Emmanuel, with black artists, this push and pull, because it's also this deeply 90s set of ideas that's happening here where simultaneously we were all being unapologetically black, right? As part of this expansion, too, also of what blackness could be culturally that she represented. Like, black hip hop could be feminist, rappers could be hippies. It was all this new thing, but it's also this desire to then cross over, not in a negative way, but in a way to say we are unapologetically black and we are also universal, right? At the same time.
Right.
Listen to her talk about that.
How do you feel when you look out at a crowd like that one tonight in Nashville and you see that mixture of people?
Oh, that's dope. I think that's dope. I think that what that does is it introduces people who wouldn't normally understand or have any knowledge or exposure to certain forms of culture. It's all about, it's like me. You see me. My life was always like a duality. I grew up in two different places. I grew up. It's like I lived amongst black people, but I went to school in a very suburban community. So I got to see how life was on both sides, and I saw that as different as they were, there were some similarities, but that both were so alien to each other, and that's not healthy. You know what I'm saying? That's never healthy. When you have white people afraid of black people unaware that white people exist outside, you know what I mean? It's just, that's no good. I think that in everything that I do, I try to incorporate the concept of universality and growth, and development and potential, and the fact that all of us have it. All of us have it, even the poorest of the poor.
She tries to put universality into everything. But I saw you, Parker, nodding at I grew up with this duality, the two different places idea.
Yeah, I think the fact that wasn't one of her classmates Zach Braff? Like, she went to high school with the guy from Scrubs. But also just trying to she's trying to thread this needle of being so authentically herself while being not palatable. I don't think she really cares if she's being palatable. I think she wants to be true to her like artistic self and how she's trying to express herself. And if you come along for the ride and accept it, that's really nice. But there's no malice to it. It's just that's a period of time. I think about a couple of years ago, I went to like an anniversary showing of Malcolm X in a movie theater here in New York. And the event was so like 1990s black of like the Pan-African flag was everywhere.
Okay.
And they were
Right.
wearing like the map of Africa necklaces and
Dashikis.
the
Yeah.
Fugees and like Arrested Development was playing.
Yeah.
And that is so the fact that like the early 90s was such this utopic idea of what it means to be black and proud and still be a part of the mainstream media.
And it's tricky too, because it's on the one hand, she's walking this thin line, and I feel like you said that whole 90s sort of Pan-Africanism,
Yeah.
back to our roots as a people sort of thing. It's tricky because on the one hand, you have white people who are just like, oh, you're racist against us because you are talking about yourself so much.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I mean, more so now, but I imagine even then, there's also a conversation going on within the black community, which is just because I wear my hair in a weave doesn't mean that I'm any less black than you, or I mean like that. And I feel like she's walking a thin line.
A very thin line that even now, I went to see her in concert a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Grant, okay, this is how I'll tell you. Doors opened at 6. I got there. I knew what I was getting in for. I got there at 9. She started at 9:40 on the dot. And then there was an intermission because the Fugees were coming out afterwards. Like Prize and Wyclef were coming out after she did the full Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Wait. You went to that concert?
Yeah.
You went to that concert in the time span of our friendship and you didn't invite me.
And I went with one of our friends.
Sorry, Emmanuel.
It was at
Sorry.
Barclay.
This
It was
whole
great.
time you mentioned the concert, I was like, okay, yeah, one-off concert, whatever. I didn't realize it was that concert.
Yeah.
Concert.
But okay, it was on a Thursday night. During the intermission, so many people left because they left. I mean, it was Thursday night, whatever. But they left before the Fugees came out. It was like a whole thing. And I'm like, no, this is this is what I'm here for. Like,
This is a
I love
reunion
This is
concert.
history, but
This
you
is
don't have to wait
important.
for it.
It ended around midnight, but you know what? Whatever. But like this is something historic that's happening. But it was so many people who maybe didn't. I mean, they weren't black folk, and they just flooded out during intermission. Like something historical is about to happen, but they did not care. And I feel like Lauryn Hill in her 50s trying to still connect. She had a big presentation before she comes out that's like Nelson Mandela and all this kind of Pan-Africanism of the 90s presentation that was moving and all that. But I was like, I don't know if people are picking up what you're putting down
Right.
in the 21st century. I don't know.
Yeah, we're in a very different time.
Yeah.
And just so people know, because we're getting ahead of ourselves
Sorry.
here. The food, no, but you know, there was a very bitter breakup between Lauryn Hill and the Fugees, all three of them. And this concert was the first time they were back together in however many decades that is that I don't want to reflect on for my own age. And it was a big, big moment. But her and many of her peers at the time effort to simultaneously be unapologetically black and universal in the sense that we have something to say that is relevant to everybody. That really is the 90s in a nutshell. And people, it had a bigger ear at the time than we can remember because that is now would be even harder to do. But it's funny, in this conversation with Andy Kershaw, he accidentally illustrates the challenge that of doing this and how it can go wrong. And it's a funny and awkward moment. But she uses it as a teachable moment. Let me just listen to this.
See, when Wyclef came out on stage tonight, he said 2 or 3 times to the crowd, "Hey, this is a black party. This is a black party." Who do you think he's reassuring, the crowd or himself?
No, you misunderstood him. He didn't say a black party. He said a block party.
I'm very sorry.
No. Wyclef is not. That's not clef. It's block party means everybody's invited. It's for the whole block.
Sorry.
No.
It was a matter of accents, Lauren.
But see now,
Black
now
party.
check
You
this
sounded
out.
like
I
black
want you
to
to
me.
check this out. Do you see how easily you could have misunderstood that, and
I
then
did-
taking
I
it,
did- well, I did
taking it back
misunderstand
home. You see what I'm saying? Taking it back home.
I did
and said, well,
misunderstand.
those Fugees, man, they just try to alienate all the white kids. They said it was a black party. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the world thinks that we're these racist, people trying to, rule the world or something. And, that's not it.
No, I'm
Our
sorry.
music,
It's his New York accent. It's a black party.
yeah, block, as in the block party. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
He
She's
ends that.
through.
He's like, let's cut.
You can hear, so that also, so it's funny, but at the beginning there, at the end there, you start to hear the beginning of her being through with media and through, which she will become totally and completely done with doing this kind of interview eventually.
Yeah. Like you said, she really uses it as a teachable moment, and she's very patient. She's on it right away of like, no. Here's what he said. Which that's a lot to be on like that.
It's a lot to be on like that.
I want to say because I thought she did say Black Party, but when he was saying it, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. He's trying to reassure in these spaces where hip hop becomes more and more homogenized that the black people that are there make them feel comfortable because they feel like they're getting outnumbered. But no, Black Party also does make total sense.
Like it would have been
You're
fine
it would
either
make
way,
sense for me.
actually.
There you go.
But this is the thing, in that context, we didn't need an affirmation that we didn't need that part. We didn't need to be told, this is for black people. We knew it was for black people. Right?
Yeah.
They were trying to also be universal. But that was an uncomfortable and funny moment. But it's also uncomfortable to listen to this now because, as we've said a few times, this is the beginning of the end of the Fugees. It is shortly after this that things really bitterly fall apart. And the gossip and the recounting of accusations about how everybody has behaved in the course of that has gone on for decades now. Yeah. But Wycliffe and Lauryn Hill were having a relationship. It was stormy. He does not come off as a gentleman in most accounts. The drama it's complicated, honestly, and I don't even want to try to recount all of it. You guys are welcome if you want to try to do it. But the point is he was married, and at one point, Lauryn Hill got pregnant with her first child. There was some dispute over the paternity of the child. Suffice to say, the dissolution of their relationship got caught up in the dissolution of the band. And what is interesting to me, though, is the dispute over art that is part of it, because at least according to an interview that Praz gave to Rolling Stone, that was a big part of it because they're big and famous at this point after the score comes out. Wycliffe starts pursuing a solo project and they all support him. But when Lauryn Hill starts pursuing her solo project, which will become Miseducation, he can't be bothered with it at first. And she's really hurt by that. And everybody in her life is like, this is some bullshit. And there's misogyny in it because it was also, at the time, increasingly people were talking about her as his side piece, right? And that the Fugees were Wycliffe,
really?
That she was just like,
that was a real thing? Because
that was
it's so
part of
wild
the,
to me because it's so obvious looking at it now where you're just like, they work because Lauryn is the essential piece, that makes all of it, that transcends it from being something that's really good to being something that's great and iconic. Like, I feel like everybody knew that was the secret sauce.
The reason that is now so clear to you is because she went on to make Miseducation in order to make that point.
Good for her. You know what?
That was part
exactly. I don't know why I'm pointing at you accusatorily, but yeah.
That was part of it. And so her son's father was actually Rohan Marley, who is Bob Marley's son. She was also in a relationship with him. And so as she went to make Miseducation, she went to Bob Marley's studio in Jamaica to record the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill with intentionally live instrumentation, raw human sound to show this is what I can do.
I filled the studio up with every instrument that I always loved to hear, every instrument that I just adored. And if I ever heard a song and said, what is that? I figured it was a celeste or a rose or a harp or something. I said, I want every live instrument. And then let's try to make this hip hop something really, really musical.
The album drops on August 25th, 1998. And as we have clearly established in this conversation, we have never been the same.
No.
Debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart with the highest first week sales ever at the time for a female artist. Wins 5 Grammys, another record for a female artist at the time. That included Album of the Year. Obviously, that was the first hip-hop album to become Album of the Year. Famously at the Grammys in her acceptance speech, she declares, this is crazy because this is hip-hop music, right?
Right.
And there's all of that. But I want to put an idea to you that I've seen some critics say that you can trace a line from Miseducation all the way up to Beyonce's Lemonade and all the rest of it.
Sure.
Joan Morgan wrote a book back at the 25th anniversary of the album called She Begat This. Lauryn Hill begat all of this.
Yeah.
And I'll admit I have not read the book, but the argument is that Miseducation just blew open the door of the culture for Black women to be authentic and unexpected and innovative and self-expression that just had not been possible before that commercially.
Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, there's still some, not problems, but I think only 2 other women have won Best Hip Hop Album. It's Cardi B
Right.
and Dzotsi.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
And then
Right.
even less Black women, specifically when you're talking about like Album of the Year, right?
I mean, it's her and it's Cowboy Carter.
4 Black women have won Album of the Year.
Okay.
Natalie Cole, Whitney Houston, Lauryn Hill, and Beyonce. So
Just those 4.
those 4. If you're going to give it to 4, at least that's the
Right.
right 4.
I don't know. I mean, she is the blueprint. I mean, the fact that I remember when Drake first came out and he was like, I'm the first person to combine, hip hop and singing. And I'm like, no, you're not.
No,
Like,
sir.
we can literally
Ew.
go all the way back to like before you were like.
Let's not bring Drake into the room.
Anyways, that is to say, like, she is 100% like the blueprint for how, I will say, like, to be a young Black woman drunk in the club singing X Factor is a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So to this day, I just think, like, you look at any kind of soul bearing, I think that is in hip hop or in R&B, that the bubbles up is automatically compared to Miseducation.
Yeah.
Again, I want to go back to just how young she was. Like, that album came out when she was 23. She's the same age as Olivia Rodrigo now.
Wow. Yeah.
And the kind of like perceptiveness and like honesty and like earnestness that she is putting into that album, that even now we think about, for some reason, while we're having this conversation, I'm thinking about Chappell Roan as someone who is maybe like a mixed bag relationship with the media, as someone who's trying to like establish boundaries while being like a young woman and not getting enough grace for it. Then we have like Lauryn Hill trying to start off in kind, as we see in her conversation with that presenter, at a young age, and still there's like the remembering, like, I am a woman in this space and this is how people are going to treat me. So let me, mind my P's and Q's, but also having that realization of, no, I don't have to engage with this if I don't want to.
Yeah.
At such a young age. I want to say good for her. If I had like the biggest moment of my career at 23 and like I would be a cobbler in St. Kitts somewhere, like you would never see me again.
Right?
You would never see me again.
Absolutely.
The
Would have
fact-
been a wrap.
So like she did this thing. Also, how do you compete with that? This thing was so it was everywhere and so beloved, and I can't count, almost 30 years later is still like the blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you not even try to top that? Like anything you make afterwards, they'd be like, but it's not like the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
What's she gonna do?
But as we've said, this should have been the beginning of a wild and incredible career, but it is not. Lauryn Hill almost totally disappears from the music scene shortly after Miseducation. And the second interview that I'm going to dig into gives us some sense of what was going on for her. We'll get into all of that after the break. Welcome back. This is Big Lives. Today we are talking about the Lauryn Hill with our special guest, B.A. Parker from Code Switch. Beep, 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 beep. So we have made it to 1999.
Thank goodness.
Miseducation has come out and blown all of our minds, set all kinds of records commercially. Lauryn Hill's on top of the world. We brought up briefly her acting career, which,
Yeah, we left out Sister Act 2, okay?
Sister Act 2.
The classic.
There's also a movie called Restaurant that I remember really loving when I was a film student.
Okay.
Where she is the girlfriend that Adrian Brody pines for the entire movie.
As he should.
It's him dealing with race relations, and he realizes he loves black women, and that's like his thing.
Oh. Okay.
And then he realizes the girl he's been pining for this whole time that broke up with him is Lauryn Hill, who I think this was when she was pregnant with her second child. So she is very pregnant in the movie.
Well, those are the things that got made, but it is worth pointing out that like when that Fugees album broke, she was getting all these offers to do movies. Born Identity wanted her, for instance.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, no, apparently, like just huge movie offers, and she turned it all down because she wanted to focus on Miseducation. And yeah.
I mean, I know that the album gives us so much, but I also would have enjoyed a Born Identity with her.
She was focused on
How
y'all
is
need
a
to
Junior
know.
Styles character? That would have been interesting.
She wanted y'all to know what she could do musically. So she's on top of the world after Miseducation comes out again, and she sits down with a DJ and music journalist called Trevor Nelson. Emmanuel, as our resident British translator, you want to explain... Because Trevor Nelson's a big deal. You want to explain who Trevor Nelson is?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to say that much more than what you just said, but no, he was like a big deal radio DJ and personality on the BBC for years. And honestly, I know him in conjunction with this Lauryn Hill interview that I think you're going to talk about. Like that's his calling. That's I feel like his biggest calling card that he's been talking about for years, and he should. I'm so excited to get into this.
Oh, okay.
Parker is looking him up.
I'm looking him up. Bald British black man.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like looking into a mirror. It's great.
Both.
Okay.
Because Emmanuel is a bald British black man.
As are you, Kai. Well, not British, but you're black.
I
You're
am a
bald black
man.
man. I just want to say this is a bald black man space.
That's true. Sure. I'm so glad to be welcome.
Well, she sits down with this bald British black man in 1999, and this interview comes the day after she's given a performance at the Brixton Academy in London, which Trevor Nelson was at.
When you perform on stage, it seems as if the spiritual side of your music is coming out and breathing even more so than anything else. You seem like you're kind of taken.
I look a little crazy, right? It's okay. Just jumping around, wilding out.
But it's, talking of spiritual, is that a very important part of your life right now?
Yeah, I think live show is important because, it communicates to the people, you know what I mean, in person, what it is that they hear. And, I couldn't, write the music and mean the music and then not perform it, in a meaningful way. So I try really hard to, every night it's a challenge to get up there and express that music, you know what I mean? Because, it's very honest music, so it means a lot to me. Each 537 time I sing those songs, each time it means a lot to me. I know I look a little crazy sometimes.
For me, it's awkward to hear herself refer to herself as a little crazy here because of the discourse about her that began shortly after this. And I think we've touched on it in various ways throughout this conversation, but can we just for a minute, just be direct about the ways in which she is discussed in the culture now and has been discussed in the culture for the last, 20 years, just the negative things said about her. So, yes, it's funny we say, oh, she shows up late to concerts all the time. But people talk about that as more than a joke. They talk about her as unhinged and erratic and quick to anger and a diva. All these clearly loaded phrases in relationship to Black women.
I mean, the things that I say about her are in jest because I know she's a lady who has been through some things. I think there is not often grace that is given to Black female artists. It's so interesting because I re-listened to, like, directly after Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she does this MTV Unplugged album that I remember listening to as a teenager and being like, what is this? This is not very good. Yeah. And because
I love parts of that album, but because
I think at the time, like the people that responded to it, that like the reviews weren't very kind. There was, I mean, to be fair, like she is sucked on a throat lozenge for a large swath.
She does this album. She came to it with damage to her throat.
Yeah.
But she insisted on doing it anyway. She insisted on playing
the guitar,
even though she was just learning to play the guitar. So
I will say, Madonna did the same thing with American Life, and everybody was like, this is fun. But when Lauryn Hill does it, they're like, what is this? But to be fair, again, I was a child, and I was like, this is not... But then I re-listened to it recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really beautiful. For me, it is akin to when Wyclef is just bandying about on the guitar for that presenter, of just like she's figuring things out. And there's a song, I remember the song being long when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, now the like, this is almost like a 10-minute song called like I Gotta Find My Peace. And at the end of it, she's in this kind of like spiritual revelry that I think may make people uncomfortable. And then you can hear someone go at the end like, are you all right? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. In a way that I don't know if people fully understood what she was throwing down, but she's also like really vulnerable again. I don't know. She's a pregnant lady who was vulnerable, who made an album.
Yeah. And who was in the middle of a very profound withdrawal from public life. She was beginning a really, really sharp withdrawal from public life.
They should have felt blessed that she was coming in to sing a song for them.
Yeah.
Should have said thank you. We kept it moving.
That's the thing. People felt entitled to her. And still do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's part of it is like, I think it's hard for people to understand when you have that sort of success and fame, why you would show any sort of reticence to protect yourself from it.
Yeah.
And I think the assumption people make is, well, so there must be something wrong with you. And so all of these sorts of... Yeah, and so all of these sorts... And so things that are real, right?
Yeah.
Like, she is late to concerts.
Yeah.
Like, very late. There is, of course, all this controversy about sort of like the credit that she did or did not give to like so many of these live musicians who performed with her when making like the Miseducation or there are all of these sorts of things. Am I jumping a bunch?
So let me talk about that because that is so part of there's a belief. People in her life believe like the withdrawal really began with this controversy that you're bringing up, Emmanuel. So because remember, her big motivation for making Miseducation was her desire to show her value, right? Like that this is like, here's what I can do. I'm not just Wyclef Jean's sideshow. And so she was really keen to make the album herself, to make sure everyone knew she made the album. And then after release, a group of producers who worked with her on it were like, but wait a minute, we also worked on the album, where's our credit? And they sued her, saying that they hadn't been given proper credit or compensation. And so that suit went on. Finally, she settled it a few years after the album came out and paid them $5 million. And that apparently was one of the big, big moments where she started to say, I don't really want to be part of this public life. And none of that has happened. None of these things that we just talked about have happened when she's talking to Trevor Nelson. But it is almost like she's prophesizing that things are going to turn for her in this way. Listen to this.
Do you think there's too much pressure now, though? I mean, a lot of the kids that are in hip-hop and R&B have come straight from the street. They haven't had the education of record company how to handle vast fortunes of money. Do you think there's too much pressure on these kids now?
I think it's unfortunate. I think it can be a system that is set up to help people to fail, to be honest with you, because it's way too much, without the proper information, without the proper knowledge, who could possibly be prepared, for everything that happens, in the music industry without some guidance, that's why, prayer is important. Proverbs and Psalms, man, they make a lot of sense. I mean, it's like there's so much, so much to deal with. There's so many different forces. There's so many people grabbing at you. Who's prepared for that? Who grows up in Newark, New Jersey or Brixton, you know what I'm saying? And knows how to handle, just by virtue of their regular, normal, everyday lives, all the pressure, all the attention,
She's being theoretical. Who grows up? She grew up right out of Newark.
Yeah.
So it feels like she's talking about herself, that she's already feeling this kind of pressure. And it's also to think about her personal life in all of this, because again, she had all of this sort of dramatic breakup with Wyclef Jean, messy dramatic breakup with Wyclef Jean. She's married to, in her language, Rohan Marley, but he is actually still married to somebody else from a relationship. And like her stance is like, leave the state. What the state says about my marriage doesn't make it a marriage or not, but like it's, that's in the culture too, is that she's a woman who is unmarried technically, she's got now 2 kids. And I should say it's notable that when she was pregnant with Zion, who is her first son, and there's a song dedicated to him on Miseducation, there are reports that she was that people in the industry urged her to terminate that pregnancy because it would look bad. So
I gotta say, at the concert a couple of years ago, she sings to Zion, and then Zion comes on stage as like an adult.
Yeah.
Full sobs. It was like, because the story of Zion, you're like, oh my God, it was beautiful. Everyone in the audience was like, we're so happy to see you. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's what's going on. Listen, I want to play a little bit from this Trevor Nelson where she talks about Zion.
Take one track, for example, off the album Zion, about your child, your first child. Now you have 2.
Yes.
How much of an impact has that had in your life?
Oh, I'm crazy now, a lot crazier than I would. No, I'm only kidding. I'm very blessed. I think it's matured me a great deal. It's taken my priorities are in order. You know what I mean? Everything is very clear. I think there was a time when, I thought I may have known more than I actually did, and wasn't able to admit that. But now I'm very clear that I don't know very much at all, and that's what children do. They sort of humble you and kind of give you clarity in a world of confusion. And, I'm very blessed.
Would you actually let them get into music? Or?
You know what? I think that if their hearts, if in my daughter's heart or my son's heart, they feel they have to do music to fulfill themselves, then of course I would support them, but I would let them know that, this is a crazy business, and try very hard to prepare them, for everything that's out there, because, a lot of the young kids coming up today, they really don't have those mentors and those people who prepare them for the traps and the pitfalls, and it could be a very dangerous and lonely place. But if there's a love there, I could never block or hinder a love.
So again, she's talking about those kids. She's 23. Right.
23 with 2 kids, and like you're the most famous female artist currently like on the planet, and you're trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do next.
We're talking one of the most famous people on the planet.
Yeah. That's too much.
And I think you can start to hear in this, like between the stuff about the industry and thinking about her kid, and then with the lawsuit, you just start to hear the building blocks, I think, of the wall that she builds around herself. And she just withdraws. She starts she won't do interviews. She's charging thousands and thousands of dollars. She's like, if you want to interview me, you got to pay me $10,000. She, you know, look, hey,
you know,
Yeah, I respect it.
I respect it. I'm not gonna knock her hustle.
She does that MTV Unplugged album. It is not a success, but in part, there is some self-defeat in that, you know, like doing it with a destroyed throat and, you know, the choice with the guitar.
I will say, to circle back to like, kind of like passing along like the torch. I remember, I think it was Kanye's "All Falls Down." Is an interpolation. Is from her song called "Misdriven Equity" from the Unplugged album that Kanye hears, and he's like, "I would like to use this for All Falls Down," and she says, "You can't use my voice." But then he gets into someone else to sing it, but it's like the all falls comes from Lauryn Hill,
That hook.
and the hook comes from that, and it's like this beautiful kind of like a passing of the torch of like something that clearly like Lauryn Hill did with like Roberta Flack or Tina Marie, and now you have Kanye kind of doing that with Lauryn Hill. Like there is still like a conversation being had amongst artists when it comes to Lauryn's work at that time.
Oh, this is the point.
Yeah.
It's like undeniably.
She here.
That is what is so interesting to me. You know, this person who removed herself very actively from the public conversation in like 2002.
Yeah.
You know, this is the year of our Lord 2026. And she remains just at the center of the culture despite that. And I think part of it, there's the part that's like her being a Black woman is part of what came at her and complicated her journey, but it is also core to why she remains still so important at the same time, right? Like, is the fact that she is a Black woman and the way she has lived and what she has meant to Black women and to Black art. And in this regard, there's two things she said to Trevor Nelson that as we start to wrap up, I want to play for you when she thinks about this. So here is the first.
I grew up as a tomboy, and the more I realize it, the more I really know that was such an important experience for me, because though I used to dirty up my clothes and get beatings for it, you know, now I'm clear that I never really had a respect for, you know, that social separation of the sexes. You know, I never thought that, you know, there was something that men could do that I couldn't do. You know, I was always trying to hang with the boys and trying to do as many push-ups as the boys were, and, you know, arm wrestling with the guys and running races with the guys, and, you know, so I never really had a respect for those lines. So I never felt, I never felt restricted. I never felt limited. Yeah.
A lot of women who come into this business seem to have more talent than actually comes out by the time they churn through the system, you know?
So it's kind of odd to hear her describe herself as a tomboy, because I think she's this truly classically beautiful woman, calling herself a tomboy. But that's the point, is that she gets to be the person she sees, not the person I see. And I just think that, you know, that's what I hear in that clip.
I can see that. Because she is so authentically herself and has a level of self-reflection, because she's had to reflect a lot about what it means to be like a female artist. Like who were her peers that were going to, I don't know.
At that time, not really.
Queen Latifah?
Doing the exact same thing? Not really. I mean, I guess she's at the vanguard of like that whole wave of neo soul artists, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you have people like Jill Scott or Erykah Badu, but they're like
Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige.
But like they're still in a different. They're in the same universe, but they're still somehow not in her galaxy.
All kind of like siloed.
Yeah.
So we're talking about who was her role model. Trevor Nelson asked her about her being a role model, and I want to end with that because I think her answer is, well, just listen.
You are a role model, period. There's no escaping the fact. I think people throw that term up a lot.
I had a really corny joke to what you just said, but I'm not even going to say it.
But you are
I just saw myself with a bag of bread.
Yeah, but I just, whenever I talk to women about, particularly black women, black girls about you, it's just, I love Lauryn Hill. I'd love to be Lauryn Hill. I love what she says. Like, you know, it's just a tirade of great things people say about you.
Can I just say, whatever their names are, they are who they are. We are all so capable. It is not about me. It's about them. It's about young women having self-esteem and being confident about who they are, you know. And I was raised by a history of very strong women, you know. So I grew up, you know, never feeling unattractive, not because of my outsides, but because of my insides. So there was a confidence that I had as a young person. And it's not an arrogance, you know, but just a confidence, knowing that God is great, and that, you know, if you just, you know, if you have self-respect and self-esteem and you love yourself, you know, why can't you accomplish what you want to accomplish? You know, everything requires hard work, you know, and discipline. But we're all so blessed, you know what I mean? And it's just a matter of us figuring out, you know, our gifts and really working hard to fine-tune them and be dope, man.
She says, whatever their names are, they're them. That's who they are. They're not me. I don't know. I love that sentiment. But you were amongst the people, Parker. You called her a big sister.
Yeah. And now I also feel bad because not feel bad, but like Outkast isn't being asked what it's like to be a role model.
Yeah.
Like Black Star, like Yasin Bey and Talib Kweli aren't being asked, what's it like to be a role model?
Right.
It's like Lauryn Hill. What's it like? It's the same thing they would do with like Britney Spears or Alicia Keys or even like Olivia Rodrigo, or like what's it like to be a role model? But they're not going to ask Kendrick Lamar. Like what? Like I don't know. Like there's like a weird onus placed on female artists that I don't love, but also I know that when I was a kid, looked up to her. But it's also not her job. Her job is to be an artist and to express herself in whatever way she sees fit. And not being allowed that grace and having this extra layer of what it means to be a role model, I think does her a disservice.
Yeah.
Because she is, again, she's just like, just, I don't know. I think she's cool. But but also that's not a job requirement.
Right.
Requirement. But at the same time was true for you.
Yeah. We contain multitudes, Kai. I don't know what to tell you.
That's right. That's right. And if there is any perfect last word about Lauryn Hill, it is that we contain multitudes. This woman certainly.
There you go. Everything is everything. There you go.
Everything is everything.
Yes. Thank you all for this time.
Thank you.
For making me go back and spend all this week just looping Miseducation and the score. It's been a good week.
It's interesting because where we're going next is, I think, kind of related. So I'm going to play a couple clips for you. I'm curious if you know who we're going to talk about.
Let's do it.
We were trying to fight the thing of them branding our records as being black. Sure, it weren't that we were trying to be white, but we were trying to get our records accepted by both races, all races, so to speak. We never really won that battle.
I haven't. Based on the voice, I have a
based
feeling.
on the voice.
I have a feeling.
Okay. Well, you might know this, but keep it to yourself. I'm going to play a couple more.
I was considered wild, as they called it in those days, and they asked me if I would dress down. Well, I was simply wearing a low-cut dress and to the knee, dressed down. Well, that was it. Oh, how horrible.
I'm seeing a look of recognition.
I know who this is. I might be wrong, but I know who this is, and boy, are we in for a treat.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm going to play just one more clip from them. This one from 2018.
I was terribly unhappy, extremely unhappy, continuously, day in, day out. I didn't have a way out. I didn't know that the way out is through the door, but that didn't come at the time. I just thought totally helpless. Yeah.
After my heart, let's do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know the way out was the door. Yes, girl.
Yeah, it's me. But yeah, we'll do that next week.
Can't wait. Big Lives is a production of BBC Studios and Pushkin Industries. It's hosted by me, Kai Wright, and Emmanuel Dzotsi. From BBC Studios, our producer is Emma Wetherill. Our archive producer is Samira Chowdhury. Our executive producer is James Robinson. The sound designer is Melvin Rickaby. Production coordinator is Galen Davis Connolly. And production manager is Mabel Finnegan Wright. Our apprentice is Amy Woods. From Pushkin Industries, our executive producer is Constanza Gallardo. Producer Daphne Chen. Legal advisor Jake Flanagan. And marketing by Morgan Ratner and Jordan McMillan.